Right on time, John. We were sweating the quorum.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. Ask the secretary over there to call the roll.
Danny Alvis, Chad Britton, Larry Klontz,
Here.
John Gibson,
Here.
Tom Kern,
Here.
Robbie Palmer,
Here.
Jason Roach.
We have a quorum, so I'm going to proceed with business. I want approval of the minutes for July 20, 2023. Is that your motion?
Chairman, I so move.
Mr. Kern makes a motion. Second by Mr. Palmer. We have an agenda. Do I have a motion that we adopt that? Mr. Palmer moves. Mr. Kern seconds. Any old business?
I'll just fill you in on, remember we had a special meeting of this group to talk about EMS. It's funny, the BMAs have been calling it the mayor's road tour. Jason threatened to get me a bus that said making EMS great again to tour the BMA meetings. But I've been to Rogersville, had Mike Solomon did it for me in Bulls Gap because we had a budget committee meeting, and I was in Churchill this week. And all of the BMAs that I talked to about what we're trying to accomplish with EMS were very receptive to what's going on. Of course, I didn't ask them for any money or anything. I just told them I wanted to let them in on the plan that we had in place. So I've got Mount Carmel to go, and hopefully we'll get that out of the way and then talk to the EMS board of directors.
Thank you. That sounds good. New business. What am I doing about? Here it is. DMA. Mr. Price.
Yes, sir. We've experienced some problems with the town hall tower this past weekend due to lightning strikes. Jamie's up there now with Metro, the communications people, and they're trying to get it back online. Host Electric and Host Connect also had some lightning problems and some system failures up there themselves. It's pretty unusual that we've had it happen twice in the last week. It's never had lightning problem before, so we know it's where it comes from. That's where Jamie's at today. We're on tap to average 40 calls in this quarter. That's what we've been having. Our biggest, or I guess the largest turnout of a call we responded to was a commercial fire on Highway 113. There was unknown contents of the building at the time, and we notified the neighboring homes, and some evacuated things, some did not. I'm not sure how many there was, but the building was heavily damaged. It's unknown as to how bad the contents for all was damaged inside. We didn't really get any information on that. The turnout gear we're supposed to start working with for the fire departments, it's my understanding that the style of gear and everything's been agreed upon, and the order process is in the early beginning stages. The parts we need to install the base stations for the radio system at the sheriff's department, those places are here, and the installation is being coordinated with the suppliers. The reason for the delay was an oversight in the original purchase order. There were some things that we needed to install those that weren't in the original purchase order. So we got all that took care of, and that's going to be in the process pretty soon. And that's really all I've got to report on. Any questions about it?
questions, anyone? Okay, thank you. Sheriff Department?
Nobody here.
911?
Jason stepped out. All right, I'm sorry. That's Lynn.
Each of you should have the quarterly report. I won't go through every bit of it, but so far for year to date for inbound and outbound telephone calls, we've had 44,122 calls. On our 911 call performance, as you can see, even with the short staff, we continue to exceed national standards on our answer times for 911 calls, and I credit all of that to the dispatchers. Total law enforcement calls per service for year to date has been 15,165. And of course, there's the EMS total calls and the fire and rescue. We'll continue to update our equipment. Some equipment that's outdated, some equipment that's needed to be replaced for a long time. At the end of June, we completely updated our telephone system. We went from an on-site telephone system to the state of Tennessee hosted controller. And I've got some information here of actually what that does, but that's a cost savings for the district of about $7,000 a year, and it increases our redundancy in case we have a failure. We've also added diverse and redundant connectivity to the 911 system in Hawkins County. All that's been provided from the state 911 board. We added an extra diverse fiber line into the building, so we have two avenues that we can send 911 calls into the building. And we also backhauled the system with FirstNet Wireless. And I was actually able to be present when they tested that. And I was on a 911 call, and if our fiber lines do fail, there's virtually, you can't tell the difference as soon as the wireless backup picks up off of FirstNet. So the call, I mean, it just never drops. We haven't made it public yet, but with the recent change to our phone system, it will allow us to begin the process of implementing text to 911 in Hawkins County. And that's a huge advantage for the deaf, hard of hearing, and those that are speech disabled in the county. But they'll also have equal access to 911 services. In reference to the radio system upgrade from the ARPA funds, all that equipment has been purchased. Purchase orders have been signed, the agreements have been signed, and the vendor has reached out to Metro Communications for the initial configuration of that system. Once that's done, they'll get back in touch with all of us. We'll have a meeting to finalize the design, and then they'll ship it to be installed at that point. There has been a few small items on that ship, but we don't have an install date as of yet. And the only other thing I have is, Curtis may mention it when he gives his reports, but we were able to meet with all of the fire departments in Hawkins County. They've all signed an automatic mutual aid agreement. To my knowledge, it's probably one of the first that's ever been signed in the county by every fire chief. That also, we had to do some GIS work on that, on the mapping side, and that's been completed. And then we'll do some CAD updates. And once all that goes live, it'll also include Rogersville Fire Department will be responding 1 mile outside of the city limits into the county. Mount Carmel Fire Department will be responding with Carter's Valley Fire Department out into the county. And I think Churchill Rescue will actually be responding with Carter's Valley as automatic aid on some structure fires. And that's all I have. Unless y'all have any questions.
Any questions?
It's been a busy quarter.
Thank you. situation, and he explained to me the protocol, I believe your people were within the protocol, so come ahead, Mr. Rick.
Look, I don't know what I'm even doing here. My wife got sick the 13th and we called Hawkins County EMS. She had blood coming out of her mouth, and she asked me, she said, call 911, call her. I'm dying. Been with her for 18 years, it's my wife. And so we call EMS, they get there. I'm excited, I think my wife's dying. Okay. I think she's dying. They're moseying down the driveway like they're, at a barbecue. And I said, guys, you don't care. Put a little pep in your step. Quote, put a little pep in your step. I think my wife's dying. And then your guy said to me, hey, you don't talk to us that way. We'll leave. And turned around and started walking up my driveway. And then I had to beg them to come in and help my wife. Help my wife. When I got my phone out and started recording him, he straightened up. But he didn't mind to call the police on me because I'm excited, because I'm worried about my wife. So we finally get her in an ambulance, and we're going to Kingsport to the hospital. This is 4 o'clock in the morning. There's no traffic. None. And I can understand not running lights and all that, but he stopped at every single red light. Every one. And waited for the duration of that red light. Now my wife, we've got her to the hospital, and thank God she's better now. They gave her 2 pints of blood. Her blood pressure was so low, they were dangerous. My wife asked me, said, could you please give me something to drink? The nurse told my wife, said, let us finish saving your life first, and we'll get you all you can drink. I said, I don't know what I'm doing here or what this is going to accomplish, but I was told to come here and tell my story about it. Now, if I'm calling that ambulance or calling 911 or asking for help, I'm going to be excited. It's an exciting thing. I mean, like I said, it's my wife. I thought she's dying. And for somebody to refuse treatment to my wife, it's not right. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know what the protocol for that is, but it wasn't right to treat me and my wife that way. And everybody I've come across, I've told them this story about it. Told them what happened and exactly how it happened. And now I got loud because I was excited about my wife. But the horror stories I've heard about Hawkins County EMS is outrageous. Outrageous. And now I understand that they're begging for money or needing money. I mean, it's just, I just don't understand. How you can treat somebody like that and get away with it.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I just...
Earl, you want to respond?
This is the first that I've heard
No.
of it, so.
Okay.
And I asked the gentleman his name.
I
I said, could you please give me your name? And the coward wouldn't give me his name. So I don't even know who this man's name is or nothing. But he wouldn't even give me his name so I can at least put a complaint in. So I called Danny Alice. And Danny told me to come here, but I don't even know what this is going to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I thought the sheriff was calling you, or I was calling.
No, Mr. Rouse is not called.
So,
But to respond to that, with it being the first that I've heard of it, if you would like after this meeting, I would be more than happy to discuss it with you, try to figure out what happened and who it was, and follow our disciplinary action policy.
you guys get together and talk about it, and then, if there's any reason you have to come back, let us know before next week. Thank you.
Sure.
EMS franchise application process, did you cover that? What's that on the agenda? Rescue squad, Hawkins County Rescue Squad. Anybody?
Nobody's here.
Churchill, Rescue Squad?
Mr. Clark,
Yes,
can we have the record show that
yes. Mr. Allison, right?
I apologize.
3:15.
First quarter, year-to-date, Church Rescue Squad ran 202 calls. Those 202 calls, 2 body recoveries, 106 of those calls were EMS assist, 4 fire standbys, 4 general standbys for public events, 1 high-angle rope rescue, 10 first responder calls, 62 wrecks, 3 search and rescues, 6 swift water rescues, and 4 other. within this quarter, we did experience a total loss of our 6x6 on a car at Long Run for a hiker that had fallen and presumably broke a wrist, unable to self-extricate. As our personnel were coming back out from assessing her and treating her and bringing her out, the embankment gave way with the side-by-side rolling down the embankment, causing catastrophic failure to the roll cage device at the side-by-side. We have been able to promptly acquire a new side-by-side through insurance. The only thing we're waiting on yet to have it 100% back in service is the medical skid unit to go on the back. They'll haul the patient and the medical attendant. Through that also, we've been able to acquire a new boat motor for our primary rescue boat. We started having some issues with it just due to the age. So we have acquired that. It's mounted, getting the last little bit of electrical done on it. We have started a junior member program. Hawkins County Rescue Squad also has one that is growing exponentially after talking to several of their members. Several other volunteer fire departments and such have those also. At this time, we have 3 members in that program. Our active membership, we have taken on 5 new members, now bringing our total membership to 38 members. We have also acquired 4 new handheld Garmin GPS units. So after the last search here in lower end, our agency, Hawkins County Rescue Squad, and I believe Stanley Valley Fire Department had come together. Each one of those agencies is first now buying 4 handheld Garmin GPSs, which were the exact same piece of equipment that we had to utilize the state and Sullivan County EMA for to bring to the summer well search. So these will be a very integral piece of equipment when it comes down to search and rescue. The simple fact is a mapping program called CalTopo. You can have your search area, grid it out, plug these GPSs into it, it'll automatically populate your quadrants into it. You hand it to your search party, they go out. It tracks their whole entire search. As soon as they get done, when they get back, you can plug that in. It pulls it up onto that mapping. It shows every step they took, where they covered, and sure we're covering that area. So that will be a definite plus to ensuring that we are covering every area we can with search and rescue in a timely manner. We have had 2 members that just recently completed their Swiftwater technician class. This class is the class that is given to the District 1 USAR team for Swiftwater. We did receive the State Rescue Squad grant this year from the State Tennessee from the Fire Marshal's Office. Our grant we put in for was for 10 new complete sets of Viking extrication gear. That has been ordered and is approximately 8 to 10 weeks from being delivered. That grant equals $16,000, a little over just $16,000. Also, we entered into a lease agreement with Hawkins County EMS for 10 years for EMS through the supervisor to be housed at our station. They'll utilize our building at any time. We feel that this is a drastic step forward for the East End coverage. It has worked out in our favor several times for both agencies. We've needed additional help, EMS additional help, having somebody at our station to assist when need be if he's there. So we look forward to continue working with them. And then as Lynn stated, our agency is starting to work with getting automatic aid response signs for the volunteer fire departments for sure on the east end of the county to be dispatched out on confirmed structure fires. And they ask why the rescue squad get dispatched confirmed structure fires. So our heavy rescue does have a cascade system on it. Pretty much the exact same system that sits down here for the air trailer. We have seen it in years past. Probably it's not very great, but it has occurred. You'll get a call on the lower end, or don't have somebody to go grid the cascade trailer and need an air packs filled. So we're going to enter that agreement that way. One, we get the cascade system there. It's there when the call gets dispatched. We fill air bottles back up. That way, fire departments are ready to be back in service quicker, along with rehab and additional tools and personnel. Past that, the only other thing I have is was we come to the Public Safety Committee to request support in getting 2 more mobile radios for our agency. So when the whole radio program started, everybody submitted how many radios they needed, mobiles and portables. Already submitted the bare minimum we needed for each one of our apparatuses, along with 3 mobile radios for our command trailer. During that process, our mobiles and portables got cut by the last administration. I think all us, Hawkins County, several did. After doing some research of figuring it out, there was other departments that got back what they asked. Ours remained cut. So we have 1 radio to go in there with the radio system in our command trailer. Having 2 additional ones, that way you have a radio channel for fire, rescue, EMS, or law enforcement, however that would be. For that, one of those that we've been going in that had to go into our side-by-side that we ended up having to find used, and luckily was able to be programmed. The issue, I know, after speaking with Jamie, and Randy maybe elaborate on this, was finding the exact same model of the radios we have. You can find them still, but some of the used ones, or some of the ones that are a little backdated from what we're getting now, they're having issues with the firmware. So the firmware's not able to update, or they're having issues getting updated, and then they're having issues with the program, and then the operability of the radios themselves. So with that, and taking a chance on getting something like that, our request is to try to get 2 more mobile radios to be able to be completely outfitted for our command trailer, in conjunction with, after several of the, I'm going to say, larger scale events we've had in the county here in the last several years. Hawkins County kind of hosts the multi-jurisdictional road team. I've talked with Corey Young, a couple members down there, has been brought up and have fairly good input on Churchill Rescue Squad kind of hosting a county-wide multi-jurisdictional incident management team. So when something like that, large-scale incident happens, we have not just our agency, other agencies. I know there's a couple of Stanton Valley, several Hawkins County Rescue Squad, Mount Carmel Fire Department, Churchill Fire Department, that have people that have advanced training in incident management through the state and through FEMA. That just means that we get those people there. Those people can go directly doing what they do, paperwork, organization, resource management, and such, work through EMA. And that takes the strain off of the other personnel that are showing up that may be doing searching, firefighting, whatever it may be, natural disaster. You have a designated team that can go just for that, specialize in that for that county. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
One quick question. I know we might not have exact figures. Can you give me an approximate on 2 mobile radios cost-wise?
Mobile radios around $1,100 $1,200 a piece.
Yeah, something like that.
I think the last time we priced one was around $1,200 a piece.
Thank you.
We're looking at
I'm not sure.
Say $2,500.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, guys.
Farmers Association, Mr. Green.
Yes, Lynn's already explained that all the fire departments signed a mutual aid agreement or automatic aid agreement. So I guess my biggest issue is the radios for the fire departments. Not only through the association, but all fire departments. All of us on the outskirts of central dispatch are having issues getting out on radios. We had 2 calls, July the 7th, July the 8th. This is Lakeview Fire Department. July the 7th, we got dispatched to Delph Lane off of County Line Road in Rogersville. Could not get out on the radios. Had to call central dispatch on the phone, tell them we were on the scene, and when we cleared up. The next night, we got dispatched to Nanny Ridge Road in Whitesburg area. Couldn't get out on the radios down there until we got back in Grassy Valley. Since the new radio system gone in for Sheriff's Department, the EMS rescue, the analog system has gone down. Talked to Lynn last week about it. We're not the only ones having issues. Goshen Valley's everybody in the outskirts is having radio issues.
If you
Can't,
Maybe
since we're still on analog, we can't communicate with the sheriff's department, EMS, rescue squad without going through central dispatch. All fire departments are required to set up LZs for medical helicopters. We have to communicate with them because they can't communicate with the EMS. And with our radios going, getting weaker all the time, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Are you speaking about the new radios that we got with ARPA funds?
There's still money in possible money in the pipeline for fire department radios. We just haven't got it approved.
Haven't got them yet.
We haven't got it approved to spend on it yet.
Okay.
That's going to be budget committee.
So Jamie Miller is aware of this?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we know the price on that again?
They're about $1,200 a piece.
Per fire department?
No, per radio.
I think the other figure, wasn't it, Mayor, around 430,000 for
Yeah.
radios for
Yeah,
the fire
total.
So this seems like
We're
just
working on it.
in the last few months, our radios have got weaker than what they used to be.
I hadn't heard that part of it. I don't understand why that would be.
I mean, we've got 100-watt radios in our trucks, and we're not being able to get out what we used to be able to get out on a 15-watt radio. So it's not the radios, it's the system that's gotten weaker.
Lynn, have you had any issue with the central dispatch?
Well, with the fire departments, it's a known, and it's been a known issue. It is getting worse on the outskirts of the county. I don't think it has anything to do with the new digital system. It's simply that the analog system is getting old enough that it's time to do something with it. It is a liability. I was telling Curtis, the other day, if I were a fire chief, and I know on a fire ground you use a talk around channel, but your command still has to get back to central dispatch. If I were a fire chief, the radio system is to a point that I would not allow any interior attack on a fire, just for the simple fact of a firefighter getting injured and not being able to get a hold of us. So it's time that something is to be done with it. As far as the LZs, talking to the sheriff's office, all that's not that big of a deal. It is new for this county that fire can't switch over and talk to law enforcement, or fire can't switch over and talk to EMS or rescue or vice versa. That's a norm in every county that's on a digital system. That's done for protection and security of those radio frequencies. So the relaying information through central dispatch is a norm. And we're expected to do that. But as far as the actual radio system itself, the analog system, we'll have to do something with it quickly.
What would you recommend, Director?
Well, a digital system. It's worked wonders with the sheriff's office and with EMS. We have had some issues with it, of course, with the lightning and the weather, but that's nothing that we can help. But I think that was Mayor, that was the quote, the 400 and something to add fire onto that system. So.
What you do, after we
Your
look at
pizza's
adding
ready.
fire to the system, what other agencies, are there any other agencies that are still analog?
Rescue would be the only other analog, and they're able to communicate both. They can stay analog on their channel or EMS. They can go digital, but as far as their primary channel, their paging channels is still analog.
I guess the better question is, does Rescue already have radios?
They have the capability to operate digital, yes.
The rescue squad did receive the
Did receive radios, okay, actual hardware equipment, okay. So essentially the fire departments are the only organizations that have not received the physical radios, is that?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do we not have mutual aid, a mutual aid channel where everyone can access it?
We do have mutual aid channels, but they're they're simplex channels.
Right.
So as far as getting back to central dispatch, you have to go to a repeater channel.
Okay. I'm just speaking of, when I was working, the last thing that you would want would be fire department, EMS, and everybody all on the police department channel tying it up when, I mean, it's just, usually it was always handled through 911, that's what we paid them for.
Right.
Right.
And that's a new thing for this county. Previously, everybody was able to talk on everybody's channels, and the new thing is they're not able to do that. So, I mean, that is a new norm for this county. But back to the fire department radio system, we want to do something quickly.
It's just like we were on Denny Ridge in between Lee Valley and Grassy Valley. Couldn't get out on the radios. If somebody got hurt, we'd have had to drove till we got radio service to notify somebody. I mean, we got dead spots all through the county.
So Curtis, the paging system works on analog, correct? Are you having any problem with paging?
Just the analog system, we can't get too central.
I understand voice, but are you having any problem with pagers?
I can talk just a little bit on that
Okay.
too. Most fire departments still have the miniature pagers that's made by Motorola.
Right.
Some have I don't know what those are called, but the pager sets off by hearing the tones. Those are designed that only just a small blurb of that tone has to be heard by that pager for it to be set off.
Right.
So as far as having issues with the pager going off, no, there's not, because the pager doesn't even have to hear the entire tone
Right.
to be set off.
We can get the tones good, we can get page stuff good, but when we get
Right. I see
some
what
of
you're
the
saying.
areas, we can't get on radio.
We just have to move that ARPA money forward in the budget committee, folks.
Randy?
I'm certainly not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm just gonna say, and I'm not speaking for Jamie Miller or EMA, I'm speaking for me, because I was there and I saw this equipment put up. Everything on the towers, all three towers, all the antennas, everything involved with this is new. And it's a whole lot better than it was before, lots and lots better. And we're having problems, I think it's not on that end up on the hill, I think it's on the end of the fire trucks that have radios that are getting outdated and giving more problems, and the antennas are that they deal with. And I think that's where the problem is. I mean, I'm not defending the radio system that was installed, I'm just saying that's what I saw. And I know how it works, and I know from years ago, the fire departments are using some really old equipment, some really old radios, some really old pagers. There's not as up to date as the stuff that we're using now. And I think that's where the problem lies. So I agree that we need to do something about it, but what we want to do something about it, instead of, kicking on the stuff on the mountain, that we need to replace what's on the trucks is where the issues are.
That's not things that run through new stuff.
Yeah, the analog system, brand new radios. Church Radio is going to go to our analog state channel, our primary channel.
It's still on the old equipment.
Through Motorola, our brand new radios in my truck. There is times that Central Dispatch cannot understand what I'm saying, and I can't understand what they're saying, sitting in my parking lot at my station. So it's not necessarily the apparatuses, because, like I said, our brand new Motorola radios we just put in, and the ones that just got the firmware got updated, wirelessly got done. Analog, the frequency channel analog stuff, that I know has to be causing issues. Because like I said, the fire department stuff, yeah, some of that is the old Grant, Kenwood, Motorola type radios, but even on the new Motorola stuff, our analog channel is getting weaker. That's Curtis stated. It is getting extremely weak.
Thank you, Curtis. Personally, I don't have the answer, but I'll meet with Randy and Mr.
quote that that was kind of tossed around, just going to get $430,000. Did that include that was more than just handheld units, that included the radios for the trucks as well? And is that ultimately what we're kind of beating around the bush in the solution for, is that we're going to have to get these from analog to digital for the fire department? Will that end off the analog completely, or will it still be used like as a secondary? You're all familiar with that? And
No, we will always have to have an analog system in the county for paging
okay.
and for mutual aid channels and stuff.
But as far as for communication wise, that would get everybody on the digital system?
Yes.
Thank you.
The digital system would work better for the firemen, hands on the structure, or anything like that, correct?
And just to clarify, the fire department radios will not talk on the sheriff's department frequencies and vice versa.
Right.
It's just, that's the way the system was designed and set up, but they will be able to talk to Lynn's place.
Anybody have Matt? Volunteer fire department. That was you, Mr. President.
What I have to say.
That too, you might get part, that you got volunteer fire department. Because it was the first. Any other business?
What's your name?
Already spoke.
Oh, sorry, missed it.
He talked to you about calling EMS
Yes.
and the problem you had with EMS.
Did you get it resolved?
Well, what's going to happen, Jason and he are going to get together and determine who it was that was on that call, and they're going to run it through their disciplinary procedure.
And I apologize, I told you at 3:30, and that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you did get it resolved?
It's in process. It's out in being resolved. It's not completely resolved yet. Jason.
Just for future reference, anytime there is an issue, feel free to give them my number to contact. I don't have a problem with people coming here and discussing it either, but I think
it'd been nicer to talk to you last week.
I think we could have possibly resolved this
Yeah.
without getting to this point.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is a perfect place to resolve it.
That's perfectly fine, Mr.
I agree.
President.
Yes, sir.
Well, it kind of blindsided them. Jason hadn't heard about it.
All of that done, if I understood this gentleman right, was told him who that guy was. Was that correct?
Yeah.
End of problem.
We don't know who it was.
I have to look it up on a computer system.
He's got to find out who it
All I
was.
know is the date, the 13th. That's all I know.
Good deal.
Anything else? Motion adjourned. Mr. Palmer made a motion. Adjourned. Mr. Kern seconded. Thank you all for being here.
I apologize.